What's up, YouTube? It's your boy AP, and today we're going to be covering how to fix your damage issues as a newer player. Now, the lazy answer to this problem would be that Spark has so many avenues of scaling damage that we're going to have all these dozens of scaling vectors compounded together in order to see a very high tooltip DPS. However, we can do one better than this because there are some very cheap as well as some very powerful ways to get the snowball rolling that you may be skipping out on. Okay, so if you feel like you don't have enough damage, first thing I want you to look at is your Spark gem right here. In blue, you can see mine is level 27. As you scale the levels up, each one becomes more and more impactful. So getting up to 27 is just insane for my damage, and you need to have at least a level 19 to the base skill gem. So the number in white, mine's level 20. Getting to level 20 costs quite a bit. Getting to level 19 is free. All you need is level 84 on your character. So I'm going to have this trade link in the video description, which is filtering uncut skill gems for level 19. You see it costs 1 exalted orb. That is essentially free. And that is going to be your initial massive scaling boost. And after that, the easiest ways to get plus levels would be you can get up to 5 on the wand and up to 2 on the shield. So we're also going to have another link in the video description. This is the link I actually use to buy my current weapon, and we can actually just go over my current weapon. It has 5 to levels, which is the absolute maximum you can get. It has very high cast speed, which we'll talk about in a second. I'd say that's the second best scaler. And it has a lot of mana, spell damage, gain is extra. This is a very good wand. And I've calibrated a weighted sum search for you to find a very nice wand at whatever budget. So let's just say, since you're a beginner player, maybe your budget's 1 divine. If you're searching for 5 levels, this might actually not even give results. So we're just going to scale this down to 4. And now you just search by sum. And you're going to get the +4 levels. You're not going to get the cast speed, but you're going to get a lot of extra value damage elsewhere. So this would be another way to get a really good weapon that's high value, just according to whatever your budget is. You'll find that in the video description. Yeah, so right there, that's how you scale the level of the Spark, how you scale the blue level. If you do a +4 with the level 19 gem, you're already going to be up to 23. And you could get that up to 25 with a shield. For the shield, you can get +2 levels, you can get cast speed, you can get mana, you can get spell damage, you can get lightning damage, and obviously the more energy shield, the better. So that's sort of what you want to do when you're compiling your own search for that. Moving on to cast speed. In order to check your cast rate, you just hover over Spark. I have 0.22 seconds. That means I'm casting roughly just under 5 per second. If we go look at our actual tooltip, you'll see my lightning hit is between 1,300 and 25,000. So lightning spells are very, very random in how much damage they do. They can do almost nothing or very high. In order to get the DPS number over here, it is the maximum hit plus the minimum hit divided by 2. That's your average hit. And if you calculate it for me, it's going to be roughly, it's like 26 divided by 2. So that's 13,000. Although my DPS is 63. So how is it scaling so high? That is because we're casting almost 5 times per second. So that just emphasizes how huge cast speed is for actually scaling your damage. On a budget, it might be hard to find it, although we do have a lot on the tree. Right now I'm getting, let me just type in cast speed. You get some through these nodes. You can opt for some extra damage on the tree down here, possibly up here. If you want to evaluate how much damage you're going to get from these cast speed nodes, just hold down Shift and it will show how your Spark DPS is affected. So if you have really low cast speed, it might be worth pulling off some defense on the tree to get more cast speed. I am highly valuing my energy shield, my mana, because again, we're level 96, trying to push level 97. I don't want to die at all. But, you know, if you are earlier on and you're just trying to get some decent baseline damage, that is one way you could definitely find a lot more. Another important breakpoint you want to hit in terms of your skill levels would be for Archmage. This needs to hit level 16 to get a decent breakpoint. The next one is level 21, but that's pretty expensive to hit. So just make sure your Archmage buff has at least 16. If you do have 15, you could put on Lightning Mastery to bump it up to 16. And actually even more important than this would be to 20 quality the Archmage. In order to quality it, you're going to use 4 GCPs. Your first 4 GCPs need to go in the Archmage because this scales it by an additional 2%. By default, at level 16, it gives you 6, and this pushes it up to 8. So that's already just a massive increase to its power. And the whole reason we're scaling mana for offensive damage is because of Archmage. So just keep that in mind. The higher mana, obviously, the more damage you're going to do, but you need to have at least 16 on the Archmage, and you need to have 20 quality to leverage this mana in order to get that maximum amount of damage from it. I don't think a 6th link is too important in comparison to these other things, but obviously, yeah, like a 6th link would be nice on Spark. That would be, I think that's like the most important stuff right there. When I say most important, I'm referring specifically to the tooltip scaling, because realistically, there's so much power hidden from the tooltip on this build that you have to be doing correctly. But if you're following the build guides, you should be doing this. I guess I can just very briefly cover it. So whether you're on the early setup with Tempest Caller or you're on my current very high budget with Strike Twice, you are going to be inflicting exposure in some way or other. And when we reduce enemies' resistance from positive down to 0, exposure as well as our curse conductivity have a massive amount of power, more so than shock. And in order to scale the exposure, we're doubling it from 20 to 40 with Scouring Winds. And by going down to electric amplification, this is 25% increased effect, and overexposure is 30 plus 10, that's 40%. This is boosting us up to 78% exposure. So basically, a map boss can have up to 75 res by default, possibly being pushed up above 100 if you have a certain map mod. So in most cases, this is extreme value. It's more valuable than shock because it's taking them from positive down to 0. And then when we couple that with conductivity, which if you do the weapon swap with this tech and this tech, it's around 70%. And if you're not doing that, if you're just casting it without the weapon swap, it's still around 50%. Now we are shifting them into vast negative territories. And once we're pushing enemy resistance into the negatives, it is equal power to scaling shock. So that's why on a budget, we are relying on conductivity and exposure because it's just free power on our tree. And then with shock, once you get into, I guess the video I put out yesterday, the very high budget scaling, you can scale shock on jewels with magnitude of ailment or magnitude of shock. And that is a further form of scaling. So every 1% of negative resistance or 1% of shock the enemy has is just 1% increased damage taken by the enemies. So that is just vastly increasing this because it's a scalar on the enemy's damage taken. It's not a scalar on our damage dealt. Make sure you're doing that. This is all, especially the conductivity and the lightning exposure, very, very easy to be doing. All right, so that wraps up this video. Obviously, this is supplementary content to the build guides. The build guides do go over how to scale your damage, but I just want to highlight for beginner players, these are the easy ways to just make sure you at least have some form of base scaling going that will then be compounded as you start to increase your energy shield, increase your mana, increase your intelligence. All this other sort of scaling compounds on top of a solid base foundation. All right, hope you enjoyed the video. I should be live on Twitch blasting for the rest of the day. Yesterday we farmed this amazing wand, and today, well, I don't know, I've spent all my money. We'll try and recoup that cost so I can get another upgrade. All right, I'll see you on Twitch. Peace.